Hello again, partners. 2 reports ago in '77, we profiled the most amazing and generous American flyer who was named Gail Halverson. During the Berlin airlift, he dropped candy to the thousands of little boys and girls who gathered at the end of the runway, waiting for the big Allied planes full of food and fuel to arrive. Well, this week we're going to talk about another American airman, and our story also has to do with children. This week's honoree was a Christian minister first, and then a pilot. His name was Dean Elmer Hess. Dean was born in 1917. He went to the Marietta College in Ohio and graduated just months before Pearl Harbor was bombed. After graduation, he immediately became an ordained minister and moved to Cleveland. Just hours after hearing the news that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, Dean enlisted in the United States Army. Because of his good grades in college and the fact that he was an ordained minister, the military decided he should be a part of the new Air Corps. He was trained as a combat pilot and went to France right after the D-Day landings. Quickly, Dean became a flying ace with more than 60 flawless missions in his P-47 fighter plane. When the war ended, Dean Hess went back to Ohio to resume his duties in the pulpit. But in a short time, he was recalled to active duty. This time he was sent to Japan to work as part of the American occupation. Well, within a year he was moved again, and this time to Korea. He became the commander that trained South Korean pilots to fly the P-51 Mustang Fighters. He was not only a teacher, he went out on missions and flew more than 250 successful flights in combat over the Korean Peninsula. Jimmy, hold it. This sounds like another history lesson. Thought you said this week's honoree had something to do with children, and the report's called An Orphan's Best Friend. Well, that's right. I don't know when I said that last, but that's right. And you say, what's up here? Well, as always, I'm glad you asked me. Right now, I'm going to get to that good part. While serving in Korea and being a minister, Dean's heart went out to all the families and children he had seen who were affected by the fighting. He volunteered with the group to help find homes for Korean orphans, young children whose parents had been killed. He went to one abandoned American airfield and found it was packed with Korean orphans who had nowhere to go. Dean worked hard to find a place for those children who were living in horrible conditions, camped out at the old airfield. Well, he made arrangements for all the children to be moved to an orphanage in a nearby city. But within months, the North Koreans captured the city. Just as last week's honoree, Gail Halverson, participated in the airlift in Berlin, this flying minister, Colonel Dean Elmer Hess, staged his own airlift. Yeah, he asked the Air Force to lend him 15 of the huge C-54 Skymaster aircraft with the pilots and crews. The Air Force said yes. Within hours, Colonel Hess and his fellow airmen had rescued nearly 1,000 young orphans and had flown them to safety in Seoul, the South Korean capital. When he returned to the United States after the Korean War, he told the story of what happened with the little orphans in a book that he called Battle Hymn. It was published in 1956. Soon, Hollywood called. A major studio bought the book and turned the story into a movie with that name, Battle Hymn. By the way, Rock Hudson starred as Colonel Dean Elmer Hess. It was made by Universal Studios and won a Golden Globe Award. Just as an aside, one of the saddest death scenes in this movie, the commanding officer, Captain Dan Skidmore, is killed. He's played by actor Don DeFore. Hey, you can't watch that scene without crying. As DeFore tells Hess, the work must go on. You must save the orphans. The work must go on. Well, there's another wonderful thing to tell you. Hess was paid a lot of money by Hollywood for that book. He didn't buy a big home or take his wife to Hawaii or buy new cars for his children. He used the royalties to build a new orphanage in South Korea. Today that orphanage is still there, serving as a tribute to Colonel Hess. Suddenly, the honors started coming in. Dean was awarded the Republic of Korea honor and the Korean Order of Cultural Merit. He's received numerous other awards, including the Presidential Citation, the Legion of Merit, the Silver Star, along with 19 clusters for his uniform. Reverend Colonel Dean Elmer Hess lived to be 97. He's another example of a great patriot American whose name we need to remember. Dean Elmer Hess. The man who saved so many children in Korea and used the profits from his book to build an orphanage. Colonel Dean Elmer Hess. Okay, partners, you know the drill. Look up there. Those three squares, and one over the right has that big red X. Click that one, and whoosh, you'll be sent back to our report page for the rest of this week's comments. Boy, as I repeat every week, my writer and researcher Dennis Daly knows just where to return in time to bring the perfect stories from me to video and report to you each week. My special thanks again to all of you partners who've been so helpful with your tax-free contributions to our little foundation listed below. Bless your hearts. Please remind the teachers and principals to let me come to their history and civic classes to tell my versions of stories about America which they no longer teach today. I love getting hugs from the students, as you know, and we always hold hands in a circle, closing our sessions with a prayer for one another and our leaders in Washington. God bless you. Dennis Daly is watching me right now, recording this, and I'm going to be sending it to you. And Dennis is getting ready to have a special heart operation. Oh God, you've been so wonderful to us. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of my writer and researcher, Dennis Daly. God bless you, and God bless America. Again, Dennis, thank you for researching my stories to bring to our partners. Well, I think that's about it for now. So I'm just going to look around and say, I love you. Go get 'em, Tigers!